A very good morning to all the students. I hope every one of you is fine and in your best health. Today, we're going to start our next chapter of our biology section, that is chapter number 9, Heredity and Evolution. This term, heredity, you would have heard a lot of times since your childhood. Like, you would have heard like that, oh, see that boy, his eyes just resembles like his dad, or I have seen you somewhere, or you look like somewhere. Like, you go in any party or to anywhere, your relatives just recognize you because your face resembles to your parents' face, or to your masi, to your bua, and so on. So we have a resemblance in us of our relatives or our parents or our brothers or sisters, something like that. So any recognizable feature of a human being, like height, complexion, shape, or shape of your face, or color of your hairs, color of your eyes, and then shape of your nose, chin, etc., these are all called as characters. And these characters, which pass from one generation to the next generation to the offsprings, are not called as characters, but in the terms of this biology, we call it as traits. Okay, so this is a simple thing. The transmission of the characters or traits from the parent to the offspring is called as heredity. So the definition of heredity would be, just I will write it here. Heredity will be the transmission of characters, or we can call it in the terms of biology as traits, okay, from the parent to their offsprings. Like, the characters which pass from the parents to their offsprings means their kids, their children's, okay, their young ones, is called as heredity. Okay, so this is the definition of heredity. The transmission of characters or traits from the parent to the offsprings is called as heredity. Now, this heredity can also be defined as a simple thing, like this is just a continuity of features, of passing on the features of from one generation to the next generation. Like, two parents, in the sexual reproduction we have two parents, a male parent and a female parent, which are in which the gametes fuse. So when the gametes fuse together, they form a zygote which develops into a young one, and that young one shows some similarity to the parents. Now, that similarity is just a similarity, it's not the actual copy. So because that is not the actual copy, that means there is some variation in that. So that variation which is responsible only in the sexual reproduction. Although in the asexual reproduction also it has been seen that there is a slight variations, but the variation chances are very minimum chances of variations. And but in the case of the sexual reproduction, the variations are they have a long chance of variation. So heredity is just an information which is present in the gametes. Okay, so this heredity is the result of the information which are present, because we know that whenever a zygote is formed, there are two cells, male and female, then they fuse together and then they form zygote. So that means the cells, only the sex cells are involved in that, because they will be a haploid cells, like this is a male cell and female cell, and this is a zygote. Okay, so this zygote will be having the 46 number of chromosomes, and this will be having only 23, and 23 out of this 22 are the autosomes, and one will be the sex chromosomes. Like, this is an X chromosome and this is the XY chromosome. Okay, so in this, so it will be having all 46 chromosomes. Now all the information which this young one, this zygote, when it will get mature, it will be having the information. That means it has been transferred from this cell and from this cell. So that means this cell has nucleus in them, and the nucleus are having chromosomes, and chromosomes are just a DNA, and in the DNA there is a gene. It is a particular part of the DNA which is responsible for these characters or for the traits. Okay, so that means the heredity is the information which is present in the sex cells or in the gametes, which passes from the parents. So the gametes constitutes the link between, so gametes are the one which constitutes, which gives actually, which provides the link between one generation and the next generation and the next generation, we can write, and pass on the either on the parents, on the even it can be father or it can be mother, on the paternal and maternal. So it can be, the characters can be from any side, from either from the mother's side or from the father's side, paternal or maternal characters or traits to the offspring. So once again, heredity is just a term which defines that it is a transmission of the characters. So in the easy word, we can say that it is just a continuity of the transferring the features or the characters. So characters are called as traits from the parent to their offsprings. Okay, so and it where it happened, actually the heredity is a result of the transfer of the genes. So genes are present in the chromosomes, and that means they are present in the gametes. So the gametes constitute the link between the generation and the next generation. Okay, from one like from the father to the child. Okay, so father is from the another family and mother is from the another family. So mother will also be having the characters, like this is father and this is the mother. So mother was also having two parents. Okay, so she was also having a male and a female, a mother and a father, and this man is also having a mother and a father. So he is also having characters of his mother and his father, and she's also having characters of his mother and of her father. So again they are having a new child which is having characters of this and this. So it is being carried from one generation to the next generation. So there will be some character which will be transferred from the parent and from the father and from the mother. So this is the information which transfers, or which is present in the cells, which transfers from the one generation to the next generation to the offsprings. That is why, because actually what happens, the children of any parent does not look alike. Okay, they resemble, they look like them, but they are not the exact copy. So because there is the variations, the next topic which we gonna read is the variations. Now variations are just the difference in the characters. Now characters, we have read that characters are called as traits. So variations now what are variations? Okay, so we know that although the offsprings inherit the characters of the parent, okay, and they resemble to them very closely, very much, but the resemblance means the look of that person, the appearance of that person is not the actual version. It is just a resemblance. It is not a photocopy of their parent. Okay, the offsprings are never the photocopy or a true copy of their parent. So no two individuals are exactly alike, and all the members of any species, they differ from one another, and they also have some new different characters. So these difference are called as variation. So the definition is the difference in, my writing is not so good, the difference in the characters or traits among the individual of a species is called as variations. So variations means any difference. Okay, so if there is any difference, we will call it a variation, and obviously there will be a difference in the characteristics because it will not be the exact true copy of their parent. The individuals will not be the true copy of their parents. For example, in the human beings, we have seen that the height can also be variations, because we have seen a lot of people, like in this place also, some people are very tall, some people are very short, some people have dark color, some people have very fair color, some people have dusky color. So in a single species of a human being also, we see different kind of people. Like people living in Asia have different features, people living in the American countries or the European countries have different features, people living in the Africa have different features. So everyone is different, although they all share the same number of chromosomes, but there is a variation in their height, in their color, in their weight, in their facial features. So variations is there in the human beings or in the other species of animals, because there is the sexual reproduction, and wherever there is a this fusion of gametes, obviously the genes will be coming from the mother and the father, so it will be a combination of both the genes. So the new young one or the new offspring will be different. It will be having some characters of its parents, but it will be having its new characters also. So this is the variation. Now what is the importance of variations? The importance of variations are a lot of variations. That means, if example there is a bacteria, okay, so there is a bacteria, now this bacteria has reproduced, so it has reproduced by normal no mode of, like in the case of this asexual reproduction also, we have seen little bit of variations. Like if you see any plant in the field, so those plant in the field, there are a lot of plants in the field. If you look at the crop also, all the grains of the crop does not look similar. There is a variation, but those variations are very in a small portion, not in a very large portion. But in the case of these human beings or in the animals, because they reproduce sexual reproduction, so the large number of variations are seen, and due to these variations, no human beings look alike. Except the identical twins, they look alike, but they are also not the carbon copy. So the number of successful variations is maximized by the process of sexual reproduction only, and variation is a necessity for the organic evolution. Now variation is a necessity for organic evolution. Now this is very important. Now why is this important? Because significance of this variation shows that it is continuous to be inherited by the offspring for the several generations, because the reproduction of organisms produces variations, and the variations produced in organisms during the successive generations get accumulated in the organisms. For example, normal bacteria produces two bacteria by asexual reproduction. Again, that this example, this is a bacteria, so it will reproduce by asexual reproduction. So bacteria will be reproducing by binary fission. Okay, now it will produce two bacteria now. Okay, now this bacteria will again reproduce in another two bacteria, and so on and on. So to the next generation, like this bacteria is surviving in 10 degree temperature, and then this bacteria is also surviving in 11 degree, and then it will survive in 12 degree, and then after a long number of generations there will be a species of bacteria which can survive in 30-degree temperature also, and after some time there could be a bacteria which could be able to survive at 40-degree temperature. So because of this little variation of the heat resistance, the generation to generation it will pass the this variation of heat resistance to that extent where it can survive in the excessive heat also. So that means the offspring of this bacteria has a variation due to which it can tolerate a little higher temperature, and then the other one will be able to survive in the more temperature. Now this variation of little more heat resistance will go on and accumulate in the offsprings in their offsprings to the successive generations, to the successive means to the next coming generations, okay, of this bacteria, and then this will ultimately give rise to a variant bacteria. So thus this will be a variant, and then after some time also the successive generation of this bacteria also will give rise to a bacteria which can finally survive at 80 degree C. Okay, so that means this variant of the bacteria will be highly heat resistant and will be able to survive even at a very high temperatures. So this is a great advantage of variation to the species, that it increases the chances of its survival in a changing environment, because change is very important for any living being to survive on this planet. For example, the accumulation of heat resistant variation in some bacteria will ensure its survival even when the temperature in the environment rises too much because of the excessive heat wave or some other reason. So the bacteria which does not have this variation will not be able to withstand to the heat, and it will not be able to survive in any circumstances which is not appropriate for that but bacteria. Like this bacteria will not be able to survive in this temperature. So variation is very important for the survival of any species in this environment, in this world. So the great advantage of variation of the species that it increases, so the advantage of variation to a species is that it increases the chance of its survival in changing environment. Okay, so the advantage of the variation to a species is that it increases the chances of its survival in the changing environment. So because change is the key, so every species in this world needs to have a variation so that it can survive in the changing environment. Now Mendel, there is a scientist called as Gregor Mendel. He is called as the father of modern genetics. Father of modern genetics. Okay, Gregor Mendel. Okay, now this scientist, it's Gregor, Gregor, Gregor Mendel. So this scientist has done a lot of experiment. So we will be learning about Mendel's experiment in this chapter. So this Mendel had an experiment for explaining the transmission of characteristics. That means how do the traits changes from parent to their offsprings or progeny. Now these we will be learning new words in this chapter, where I will tell you all the new words before I go deep into the topic. So this is just an introductory lecture today. So we'll be learning about few things in this chapter which I will be telling you, because there are a lot of new words which you will be learning. So we have learned about heredity and variation, two new things today. So we'll be learning about chromosomes, genes. So chromosomes and genes, you already know about them. Then we'll be learning about dominant genes, recessive genes, genotype, phenotype, everything. So that will be done in the another lecture. Today I end this lecture with this. So please go through the book, read your book, read the first and second page, and then in the next lecture I will be telling you more new things, so that you will be able to understand the chapter. Since in this chapter, heredity and evolution, we don't have to read about evolution, because that has been cut from your syllabus of the CBSE for this year. Okay, only for this year. So those who are giving the board exams this year, they don't have to read evolution, we just have to read heredity. Okay, so we have very less topics to read, so we will take it very slowly. That means so that you can learn and understand each and everything. Okay, so please do some questions which I'll be giving you. Since we have just started the chapter, I'll be giving you a few questions. You will have to make notes of this chapter for sure. Okay, so if you have any other problem, you can tell me. I will help you out. Okay, so till then, take care and please study. Thank you.